Okay, we're going to talk about graphing from an equation today. So we've looked at these equations a lot. Um, Equations of lines, slopes of lines, um, lines that go through the origin, which is 0, 0. So now we're going to look at what lines, how to graph a line if it doesn't. A linear equation is an equation whose graph is a line, and we've talked a lot about those. The y-intercept is the y-coordinate of the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So we've done equations where they go through 0, 0. But if I take a line and I can move it up and down along this axis, and it'll change where it crosses. So if it crosses here at 0, 0, here's like -2, -4, 3, 6, whatever. So this will move up and down along this. That's our y-axis. It's where it crosses that y-intercept, or the y-axis, the y-intercept. And then, of course, the slope. We've talked a lot about the slope and how it's the rise over the run. So the steps, you're going to plot the y-intercept, use the slope to find 2 points, and then draw your line. The thing you have to remember about the y-intercept, you have to start here. The y-intercept is your b, it's your beginning. I like to say the b is the beginning because that's where you have to start. You can't graph a slope until you graph your y-intercept. So let's try one. If I have this equation here, it's in slope-intercept form. That means I have the y by itself. So my slope is the coefficient of x, which is 2. And since I'm going to have to do my rise over my run, I want to go ahead and do 2 over 1. And go ahead, write that as a fraction. My y-intercept then is the constant that's added to the end. So my y-intercept, or my b, will be 1. So I want to start with b. So I'm going to put a dot here at 1. And then I'm going to do my slope of 2. And remember, this means rise over run. So I'm going to rise 2 and run 1, and there's a point. Rise 2 and run 1, and there's another point. I can do that over and over again because remember, a line has an infinite number of points on it. I can also do -2 over -1, and that'll help me go the other direction. 1, 2, 1, down 2 and back 1. Because two negatives make that positive, it's the same slope. And then I can just connect my dots, and there's my line. Make sure when you're making your line on your graph that you fill your graph up and that you put lines on it. We don't want to see segments like this. You want to fill your graph and put little arrows on the ends of it. Okay, let's try another one. The slope of this one is 3 over 2. The y-intercept is -2, and it is negative because that constant has that minus sign in there. So it's not +2 and my intercept is 2. It's got to keep that negative with it. So it's -2. I'm going to start at my y-intercept, -2. My slope this time is up 3 and over 2. So 1, 2, 3 and over 2. 1, 2, 3 and over 2. Or I could go 1, 2, 3 and back to that direction. You do need to have at least 3 points when you're making a line. 2 is just not quite enough to make sure you've done your line straight. So you want to make sure that you do 3. That way you know you've got a straight line. Okay? And this one, if you want to go ahead and pause the video, you can try this one yourself. Okay, so my slope on this one is -1/2, having to keep that negative sign with it. And b is a +3. So I'm going to start at my beginning, or my b, my y-intercept, 1, 2, 3, and put a dot there. And then my slope is -1, 2, so I go down 1 and over 2, down 1, over 2. Or I could do 1 over -2, because these are the same thing. It doesn't matter which one of those is negative, it makes the whole thing negative. So I could go up 1 and back 2. And there's my line. Okay, this one, if you have an x, remember the coefficient of this is just a -1. So I have a -1 slope, and an intercept, again, keeping that negative with it, is -5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my -5. My slope is -1 over +1, but I can't go now down -1 here because I'm out of space. So I'm going to do +1 over -1, which is the same thing. So up 1, and back one, up one, back one, up one, back one. And my line looks like it's right there. I'm a little off. Here we go. You can also remember to use a little check here. If my slope is negative, it's going to be going downhill. So if you graph a negative slope and you end up with something that's uphill, that's a clue for you that something went wrong with your slope. And that's it.